This week on SV Lynx. Welcome to this week's SV Lynx video. The name of this video is Redesigning the Boat. No, there's nothing wrong with the plans. The plans are fine. We are just finding small modifications we want to make here and there as we're building the boat to make things easier to build or workable in the future. So that's why we're redesigning.
Yeah, things like putting a curved edge on a corner where you walk around rather than a 90-degree turn, just so you don't bang your hip as you go around. Just little redesigns that make it nicer. And so there's quite a few different little tweaks that we're making, and it does cost us extra work, but I wanted to point out that this is not a design flaw that we're fixing. These are improvements on the design that we've just decided to make when we actually see it in 3D space, in reality. And sometimes when you see it in reality, you say, you know, that's a little more narrow than we want, or that's a little too sharp of an edge, or we want to put a little toe kick here because we want to get closer to the counter. Many little things that it changes like that. And we've made quite a few of those this week, and we will continue to make those. But let's show you what we did this week. So let's get on over to the lot. It rained, finally. We've had a very dry winter. Good for us, bad for California. But it rained for the last about 2.5 days. So the ground is not too muddy because it was so dry, I absorbed a lot of it, but it's a little bit muddy. So we don't really want to walk up inside the boat today because we don't want to track any of this mud on our feet up there. So we're doing some other jobs right now. One of them is we're sanding this Daggerboard and this side of it. We already got the other side. And get it ready for phase 2 of second layer of epoxy on here to fill in some of these little holes and ridges and stuff that there. But we need to get it sanded first so we can scrape it smooth with the next layer. Meanwhile, Brian's taking out the 2 blocks for the sheaves that we put in there with some plastic. Changed our minds. We went home at lunch and picked up some extra shoes so that we didn't have mud up here. We switched shoes on the way up. We brought everything upstairs here. We don't have to go downstairs for anything, so we can work. So what we're going to do is we've got all of our peel ply and all of our fiberglass here all set and ready to go to tab this whole interior bench in. And so we'll be tabbing along the back edge there, along the front edge here, down at the bottom, inside the cupboard there, over here on the ends. So we're going to do all this right now. And once we're done with this, we're going to try and do the same thing over here in the cockpit and get this all tabbed in. So that's what we're up to, and that'll be a whole lot of tabbing. What do we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then those. So again, our goal is always 3 tabs on average per day. This will catch us up to that gluing we did the other day of 21 pieces. So that'll move us along, and that's what we want to do. So here we go. All right, let's get this thing all tabbed in. Bring me something to get rid of this. That's the following day, and our bench should be set up enough to pull this peel ply off. So let's take a look at this. All right, so it looks pretty good. Nice, smooth stuff, so pretty good. That's really strong. Going anywhere now. Today we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to do it over here. So we're going to start tabbing in the bottom over here right now. And we wanted to get that done before we start sealing this up more, where it gets a little hard to reach in there for us. So we'll do that now. Now, in this particular case, we chose to do it before we put the back on, because it has these little riser parts here, and those are going to be a lot easier for us to tab while we can get in here, rather than have the back and have to come up from underneath. So we're going to tab the insides of all of these right now, and those backs. And then once that's all done, of course we'll do the outside here as well. But once that's all set up, then we can go ahead and glue in the backrest on here. And then we'll also start putting in the rain water trough area that goes in here, which we've got all prepped over here. And but that won't be today, most likely. Today we're just going to tab all this, get this, let it all set up, and then we'll get to gluing in those other pieces maybe tomorrow, and get this bench well on its way to being finished, because we got other work to do back on the rear bench back there that we want to get to. So we want to get this one all set up. I also have the table legs on their way right now. They should be coming in this somewhere in the next week. The ones that we put out here, we're not going to have this table lower down to a bed. We just don't need it out here. You can always lay down. I think this is a nice long bench if you wanted to lay down there, and then there's the day bed that's up above here with a mattress. So plenty of place to lay down out here, and you've got the whole back bench, which is plenty long for two people if they want to put their back rest up against the ends. So lots of places to lounge around out here in the cockpit, so we don't need to drop this table. And over in this one, this is, as I've mentioned earlier, is higher, and so that was important because the table legs that we dropped down to couldn't go too much lower than what the height of this is. So if we wanted to convert this into a bed, we kind of had to get this up at this kind of height. So that means that when we do this little table over here in this area, we'll make it the same height as this is. That'll help you see out the windows better, and it'll make the table be able to drop down, table legs that we bought, be able to drop down low enough for the table to become the basis of the bed. So Brian's mixing with this. Today we've got him up here mixing because it's been raining, and so this way we could make sure that our mixing station wasn't going to get rained on. So he'll mix right there, and then I'll start putting it on, and he'll help me. That's the plan. I always need help. All right, all the peel plies on these. Oh, that's a little tiring work there. We're going to now do, because we're gluttons for punishment, we're going to do the outside of this right now. And then we're going to curl up in a ball and die. No, we're going to rest for our wonderful labors of the day. But I will say, leaning over is for the birds. If birds like to lean over, I guess. Yeah, here. I'm standing here. All right, we're done. We got all the peel ply. We got all the tabbing done, inside and outside. So our cockpit bench is to the next phase. Tomorrow we're going to get going on maybe the backs, and we'll start working on the, maybe start putting in some of the rain gutters. So big milestone, but boy, that was a lot of leaning over work, so we're tired. So we'll get back to it tomorrow. Time for my new morning ritual, which is pulling peel ply. Yesterday's work. Okay, so it's all glassed in here now. Going nowhere ever. So, and all the insides, everywhere down in there, are all glassed in as well. So this is secured wonderfully. So now we're going to get to working on the rain gutters. Now, we can't glue them all in today, but we can glue most of them in today. I got a couple more that I need to make today, and then we'll glue those in tomorrow, but we can glue most of them in. So we'll get going on that. Working on these kerfed boards here, and we need to epoxy them to hold this shape. And for that, I'm going to create a little jig top and bottom here that we can clamp onto the top and bottom to hold this, and then we'll glass and epoxy the insides of that and get it to hold that shape. So I just need to cut out a couple of discs.
In last week's video, there were a couple of commenters who suggested we bend the board the opposite direction on these kerfs and that it would use up less epoxy, and that's very true, but the thickness of our blade would mean that to get this full 90-degree turn in this short of a distance, we would have to put twice as many kerfs in there, and that's a lot more cutting, and we'd have to fill twice as many lines, which is just a little bit more work, and there just wasn't that much epoxy to do it this way, and it curved very nicely with this many cuts.
Okay, now that we've got our jig all set up, we're going to fill all these cracks. Got a beautiful curve there. One down, 3 to go. We'll have to do these one per day. That's okay. I only need 2 to be able to get to work on the port side, so we get that by this weekend. And then the other 2, we'll have to wait a little while anyway because we got to put the floor in before we can work on those cupboards. So we'll get to that instead. We haven't done that floor because it's our walkway up here. And once we take out this wood that we've been using as a walkway here, particularly right here, we have no way into the boat from here, but that's okay. We can come in from the side of the boat through the holes for a couple days while this gets set up. Our curved piece here came out wonderfully. So it's ready to make our corner, 90-degree corner up there. We'll still have to put a piece of glass across the top, but this is just glued. So as you can see, we're set up to do the next one. Since that one worked out so well, we're doing the same method. And then we were short 3 pieces for our rain gutter system up in the cockpit table. So we've got those 3 sitting here, ready to be filled, all cut and beveled and cored and all that good stuff this morning. So they're all ready to go. So that's why Brian's mixing right now, because we're going to do this and these 3 at the same time. Once we get these done, we'll probably go up into the cockpit and glue in some of the ones we already had ready to go. Like I said, we were just missing 3 we found, but we've got some others we can start gluing in. So we'll probably do that next once this is setting up. And once we have the second one of these done, we can get the measurement that goes between these 2 and cut the baseboard, because then there's a toe kick here, and so we need a bottom that meets this curve and such. So we'll just put these 2 the right distance apart and sketch a line right on them, cut that, and it'll fit perfectly in here to make the bottom. Of the top will be the tabletop, and we're going to have to cut the tabletop that we already have. I call it tabletop. It's the top of the cupboards. We'll cut that to this shape as well. But first we got to get this one made before we can do that. Maybe tomorrow. And yes, you can notice it's getting blustery out here. There was a, mind you, 2% chance of rain today, but it's looking much worse than 2%, but hopefully it's not going to rain on us. And these are the other 2 kerfed boards that are ready to go onto our little jig and be made up, but we'll do these one day at a time. These ones aren't necessary right now anyway, because we can't work with the that side until we do the floor, but we'll get to them soon. We'll just do one a day on the jig here, and then they'll be ready to go. So we're going to rain gutter, and to start with, for that, we're going to put these backing pieces right here. And so they've already been filled on the one side, and we'll be gluing them on the other. So that's going to go right there, like so. And we had to do this because we can't go back to the back wall, because we want the hatch to turn on its hinges right here. So this will be lifting on these hinges like this. And so we needed this wall back here because we're going to be putting our rain catchment water trough, whatever you want to call it, along here like this. And so this needs something to glue to here on there. That's really tight at the back.
Jeff's here helping us on a Friday this time, and he'll be here Saturday as well. What we got him doing right now is taking off the little bits of epoxy pillars that are along some of these edges if they just happen to get cut where those pillars are.
We've been cutting a lot of stuff this morning until it gets warm enough, but it's warm enough now to start doing epoxy. So what we're doing here is, this is one of the walls of the nav station, and this is the top plate that goes over the corner of it where we put our printers. There'll definitely be a paper printer there for when we get to documentation work and stuff like that. We'll need that. We might have a small 3D printer that we put over there as well. We'll see, but we'll at least have a paper printer there. So that's what that's for. But because we modified this nav station a bit in our redesign of it, we have to do some extensions. So we're extending this one out a little bit, and we're extending this one, both this edge and this one. So that's our own fault. We made changes, so we have to adapt. So we're going to go ahead and glue on these extensions so they can get setting up, so tomorrow we can start laying out that nav station more. And we're also going to be gluing in today the sections for the rain, I call it rain, but it's water gutter system for up on the bench up there. We'll get to that. And we just cut the bottom kick plate for our cupboard over on the port side at the stern, and we'll probably be gluing that first layer on. We'll show you that in a minute as well. So we've got our extensions on here now. Obviously this is weaker because it's just a glue joint right here, but we're going to be tabbing over the top of this whole thing, so that'll tie that together. And this is only going to help, nobody's walking on this, this is just where a printer sits and stuff, but by the time we tab over this on both sides here, it'll strengthen that up. And the same thing will happen over here. There'll be a tab that goes around this corner and it'll cross over here, so that'll solidify that joint just fine. Now it's time to glue in our rain and water trough area down here into our hatches. So we're just about getting started here. Jeff and Brian are over here gluing in the last backboard over in the corner. We're not going to actually do the rain part, water part in there. So while they're working on getting this back area here fixed, I'm going to start putting in the water trough over in this one and then in this one here. And then once they're done over there, I'll go do that little one over there. All right, Brian. Let's see. This one first.
Hold it.
Yeah, you're going to have to help me. Well, you're going to have to help me with everything. This is a two-person job to hold these in place while we get them.
How does this go against it there?
Yes, it goes flush with that outer
Flush.
edge.
Got it.
So this is how that works now. So now there's this trough that sits right below where the hatch is, and we'll be drilling a hole through and filling it with epoxy on the, after we core it out, and the water will drain out of each of these corners. And once you get this clean, we're going to be tabbing underneath it here, so this will become very strong. Not that the seat fully, the seat sits on it, but it also sits here, and it has hinges mounted back here, so it's got support front and back, and this is just additional support for it as it sits around there. So it should be plenty strong once we tab those insides. So this is the height of the hatch, and so you can see it sits flush when it's sitting in here. Okay, sweet. And look at this one. Yeah, that's good. All right, I like it. So that one now is all flush, and so this one and this one. And we're going to do the corner one over here tomorrow because, as you can see by that clamp, we're setting up the back portion of that currently. But these ones will be ready for some sanding and glassing tomorrow, and then we can mount the hatches onto them permanently. So that's all total. This took us, I would say, 3 days worth of work to do this bench like this. And since we have a little extra epoxy, we already prepped this add-on board that we're extending out the cupboard with. So we're going to go ahead and put it on with the excess epoxy. This is why we prepped this, because we weren't sure how much epoxy we would need for the rain and water trough area. So we said, well, if we have extra, we'll have this prepped and ready to glue, and it turns out we do have extra. So good. Okay, a little cleanup, and we'll have this in place. So that extends this out here, but we're going to also have to add a little bit of an extension over on that side eventually too, to make them even across here. But that'll get us the distance we need. So that's a good deal. And then after this is set up, the next thing we'll do is put this piece on, which goes down here. And this is the bottom of the curved piece that goes on here and expands this thing out a little ways with a toe kick underneath so you can stand up closer to it. So more customization, but it's well worth it in the end. This is the corner area where you have the nav station desk over here, and this is where our printer is going to be. So we've been preparing this top and beveling these edges around here, but this is just sitting here right now, and we're going to glue all this together. But once it's glued, then we'll tab over around these curved edges you see here. And that came out pretty nice, so we're happy with it. And we're so happy with it, we're gluing it in right now. You need to do what? Yeah, close it. Yep. Got it? Going down in the stairwell. All right, so we're all set. We've got a couple of screws in here holding that. A couple of clamps holding this against there. A couple of clamps holding that one over there. Sealed the back edge. Now that eventually is going to get cove put all the way along there and glass. So just like all these edges are going to get glassed over anyway. But for now, it's glued in very well and ready to move on to the next job. We're going to get away from here anyway so we don't hit any of these clamps and screw it up. So we're test fitting now since we finished the rain water catching through the crack here. There's the hatch. We haven't put the hinges on yet, but that'll lift up. And it sits in there like that. And we have a bench. And the water will run right out the end. So that seemed to work. This one should be working pretty well too. Grab the right hatch, not that one. The bigger one. There we go. We haven't sanded this one yet at all, but we'll see if it fits. Yeah. Gonna sand it a little bit, but there we go. We've only got these three in, so we got to fix that one over there. But once that one's in, you go, yay, we're all done. No, we got to do the same thing to those 4 compartments. So 4 more hatches, and we got to build everything for those. So we're going to be getting to work on that pretty quickly here. But at least we've now tested it, and it's going to work pretty well. And of course, haven't tested the water yet. We got to put our holes in here first, and then we'll pour some water in there. See how it goes. All right, it's in and setting up. So we're going to go ahead and go get some lunch and come back and get to work on something new. So we're extending this out now to where the seat back goes. And that's in preparation for being able to put on our curved corners and toe kicked part out here. We've already extended a piece on the end there today, and now we're going to extend this part out. While we're doing this over here, Jeff is prepping the starboard side for the same piece of board to go in. There we go. When you have enough workers, you can work on the port and starboard side at the same time. And then I can supervise. Supervise. That means the guy who sits around and doesn't do anything. So while Jeff's doing this side over here, and I'm just filming, let me tell you a little bit about what we reconfigured this area for. We were going to have 2 scuba tanks down in this area with a dive locker. And we were going to have 2 more scuba tanks over on this side with a dive locker. We have changed that now. Excuse me, let me go over here again. On this side over here where Brian is, that's going to be 4 scuba tanks. Yes, that's you, Brian. That's going to be all 4 scuba tanks, and that way we only have to run 1 high pressure line from the compressor over to the tanks, and that compressor is going to be right down behind this bulkhead right here, so it's a very short run to those 4 scuba tanks to fill them. So over here, there's not going to be any scuba tanks, so we don't have to run that high pressure line over here. So what are we doing over here? This is going to become our outboard storage locker. And this is just big enough to put our large electric outboard inside of here with a locked door, so that when we switch to our smaller outboard to go in through a surf entry somewhere, and we have to take our big outboard off, we're going to put it in this locker and lock it up out of sight too, instead of out on the back of the boat where somebody can see it and want to steal it. We're going to lock it up out of sight, out of mind in here. So this now has become the outboard locker. And so we have 2 outboards, a small one and a big one. When the big one's in use, the small one's in here. When the small one's in use, the big one's in here. So that's now our locker for that. It also meant we needed to reconfigure a couple of other things, and we'll see some of that later. But how we did the top of this, where the barbecue is, has changed, because we have to be able to lower the outboard in from above. Sorry. And the reason for that is that the floor level of the deck is going to be about where this board is right here. And when that comes over, there's not enough room to get the outboard into here. Now, once you get beyond here, there's extra depth, and the outboard can drop down into there, but getting it in here would have been difficult, even with an 85-pound outboard, which is really light, but it's still 85 pounds. So what we're going to be able to do is take the top of this off and open this completely. And so when we go to put the outboard in here, it's going to look just like it is right now. It's going to be open on the front with the door swung open, and we're going to lift the top lid off and just set it down. And we can walk and set the outboard down from above onto its mount. And once it's in there, we can just close the door in the back, put the top hatch back on again. We're all set. So the only conundrum of all that is this is where our barbecue was. So what we've decided is the barbecue would be mounted to the hatch lid. And when you lift the hatch lid off, you're going to do it by just grabbing the 2 handles on the barbecue, lifting the hatch lid and barbecue, set it over on this flat area that's right behind here. And now it's open, ready for the outboard to go in. And then we just set the barbecue and hatch back into place, lock it all back down, and Our hidden outboard area is complete. We got lots done this week, and what did we get done today? Well, let's see how our count went, since remember we tried to get 3 pieces glued and tabbed in one day, or 6 pieces glued or 6 pieces tabbed, whichever way you want to look at it. Down here we got 1, 2, 3, 4 glued. Over there we got 1 there and 1 over there, so 6. Then on that end we got 1 over there, that's 7. And in here we got the corner piece over here for the nav station, 2 of those, so that's 9. So that's a little better than what we have to average every day, so good deal. And next week, come Monday, we're going to start putting on these pieces that go here and over here. So we're going to get that done on this side, but we're not going to work on that one yet because of the floor. And then, unfortunately, starting Tuesday night and all day Wednesday and into Thursday, we're going to have a fairly large rainstorm possibility. And so we might lose a couple days next week, but we'll see if Brian and I can't get in here and work on the inside, because now that we've got that corner over there in, we can start gluing the nav station together over here, because that was what was stopping us. We needed the wall in here before we could work away from the wall and get the nav station glued in. Before we can do that, of course, we've got to finish off this access hatch to the electric area down there, so we'll have to fix that. And then we can work on this nav station. That's all indoors, so that's all good. We also got a little bit of work left in this hatch here that we have to do, so we can get to that. So those are some things that we could work indoors if we want to here. The biggest problem with working in the rain isn't that we can't work indoors, is how much mud is there out there that we have to track and switch shoes on the way in here every time if we don't want to track mud into the boat, which we don't. So got some tricks there that we'll have to deal with. The other thing that I've been thinking about is we didn't glue the stairway in over here yet. And that's because we have to finish this socket off for the slider with fairing, sanding, and painting before we can glue this in. But if we don't glue this in, we can't finish the lounge seat here, the bike garage, the seating for the helm pedestal, all of that is being held up by this. So what I've been doing is I've been contacting the paint company that we want to go with for the paint for the whole boat, and seeing if we can't get a partnership deal and get them to sponsor us in some way. And we've had some positive results from that yet, and we're still hopefully working out the details on that. I won't tell you who until we actually have a deal in place, but at least it looks like we might. So I'll give you more information on that as soon as it develops. Now, we've got some other things I'll show you next week. We've got our refrigerator now that goes right here, the stand-up refrigerator. We've got that now, it came in. And that means that we can start working on the galley whenever we want as well, because we had to have all 3 refrigerators and the sink to build the cupboards around that. And technically the cupboard for the inverter, microwave, air fryer, convection oven thing, we got that too. So we have all the appliances, so we can start building the galley around those appliances now. So we will be able to get to the galley as soon as we feel like it, now that we have everything. So lots of work to go, and fun stuff. We like building the furniture. It's good stuff. But I'm going to head home right now, and the Admiral should be getting off work, and we'll chat with her for a moment and let you know some other stuff. Talk to you then.
So we got our water trough system built into the cockpit, and we liked it so much that we're going to do that on the back bench as well.
Right, and we also put those curved corners on the extensions out on the back bench corners there where the cupboards are, and make that redesign, which I just told you about, of where the outboard's going to go and such. And we got started on the nav station as well, putting in the corner, but we're not going to continue working on the nav station anymore, nor any of the other furniture that's inside of the Salon, and that's because We got to do things in the right order, and there's something called mullions, which are short pillars that go between the little windows all the way around the salon to support it in case we take a big wave, which we probably will at some point, over the front of the boat, and that's a lot of weight hitting that window, and it needs a lot of support. So Schodig engineered this to take serious impacts, and those mullions are what strengthens that. But to get those mullions in, we have to finish the cabin top, and there's a lot to do on that still. We haven't even glassed it in on top yet. There's some little bits of that rain catchment system that we built a long time ago, 3 little spots that we have to finish up. So there's quite a few things, and then we'll get those mullions put in. So we're going to be shifting focus pretty quickly here to that, although we still have a few things we're going to do in the cockpit first, but we're going to get to that cabin top soon. So you'll be seeing that in one of our upcoming videos. So thank you for watching this one and spending some time with us. We do appreciate you stopping by. And also thanks to our patrons who keep our project rolling along.
Yes, thank you for joining us. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on the bell icon to be notified of our next video.
And we'll see you next week for some boat work, but not a ton of boat work. The reason for that is that it's going to rain most of the week next week, according to the weather report. And so we've got a bunch of other work that we've got to get done. We've got a bunch of equipment we need to order, and we've got that done, but it's coming in now. And so we'll show you some of what the parts are that we've got coming in. A lot of appliances for the galley, because we want to build the galley fairly soon, once the cabin top is done. And we needed the various parts, the sink, the refrigerators, freezers, microwaves, all that stuff, so that we can size all the cupboards correctly to those pieces. So we'll show you some of that next week, since we're going to be stuck in the house a little bit from all the rain. So we'll see you then.
Bye.